We're here in Phoenix at the 2015 IAB Annual Leadership Meeting, where we've just wrapped up our town halls. 4 intimate forums which call on attendees to collaborate on how we overcome pressing issues. Town halls set the agenda for our industry, and they require active participation. Let's hear what they had to say on mobile.
We just wrapped up our IAB session. We had an interactive session with probably 100 people or so here in a town hall talking about mobile.
Yeah, what are the biggest issues in mobile, and what do we need to do to kind of address those? And hopefully we came up with some good stuff that the IAB can help us get through.
Yeah, this was a good session. It was mostly an interactive session. Got everybody in the room, both the publishers, the ad tech teams, handful of agency folks talking really about like what are the core themes that have emerged around mobile, what do we need to solve, and specifically, like you said, we have a handful of pretty good things I think the IAB can specifically do.
Yeah, let's go through some of those. You were really passionate about the creative. You want to talk about that? There was a big issue that there's a gap on addressing creatives in the advertising space. They are maybe focused on some older technologies, and we really want to try to close that gap.
Yeah, so I've always said, honestly, when I see a traditional banner ad, particularly on mobile, it makes me feel like it was ripped out of a magazine and like accidentally placed on this page. Like, how did this even get here? And so the question that we launched this discussion with was, for a world where it's not just about fixed size ads and fixed size banners that live in places in the bottoms of pages, for that world, what does that mean for creative agencies? What does it mean for creative standards? What does it mean for sizes? What kind of problems does it bring up? And I think the biggest one for us, this was we didn't realize there was an elephant in the room until we realized it was standing there, that we're having a discussion about creative and there's not a single creative person in sight anywhere. So we had a very strong sort of deliberate thought for the IAB, which is maybe for the next set of sessions and maybe next year and maybe just in general, let's group together, the mobile committee and everybody at the IAB, group together to bring creative agencies, creative folks, publishers who are on the editorial teams, or the sponsored editorial teams, the content studios, bring them into the fold.
Yeah, sponsor a creative. Make it really easy. Put them with the people who are most focused on the gnarly bits of this and accelerate their education. So we're pretty excited about that one. But another one that's maybe not as easy to solve is measurement. It's such a broad term, but we realize that for mobile measurement, you probably need to stop thinking about mobile and start thinking about audiences. And this is a challenge. How do we translate that into the economy of our business?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting insights that somebody brought up is that mobile doesn't have to mean small. And when you think of mobile as small, when the notion is that mobile is a small version of the creative strategy, everything kind of falls apart from there. Similar with the concept of responsive. I think generally people have thought like responsive is our savior. As long as your site's responsive and as long as your mobile ads are responsive, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And I think the thought, and particularly probably from Flipboard, is really mobile user experience is unique enough that it deserves its own attention, its own creative strategy, its own real thought about the user experience. Not just the visuals, not just what it looks like, but what happens when somebody sees it. What experience are they in? What happens when they click on it? How does it fit into the site? Obviously particularly relevant when it comes to native, that it's not just about responsive, it's actually about rendering itself so it fits in naturally to whatever site it ends up on.
Yeah, absolutely. And while the screens may be smaller than some of the screens that we're accustomed to, the engagement is clearly high. And so buyer education around measurement and considering some of these other things we think are really important. But the one I thought was really the most exciting was the third bucket, which is a big issue for this group, which was audience targeting. How do we reach scale by reaching these audiences in all of these different environments across mobile and all the different elements that contain mobile? And I loved some of the ideas that came up here.
Yeah, I thought they were awesome too. I think when we think about it from your own personal perspective, on some sites you truly do control your data. You go to Amazon and you can uncheck things from your targeting list. Don't target me with these shoes because I already bought them and I don't need to see them again. But if you could do that on the open web, and you could say to any site, whether it's people.com or Forbes or Business Insider or TechCrunch, hey TechCrunch, here's my anonymized personal data so that you can target me better, target me as well as I'm targeted on Facebook. It's actually a way to give users and give people on the internet control of their own data in a way that today only really Facebook and Google have. I thought it was an interesting insight, but Facebook and Google control my data more than I control my own data. If I wanted to expose my personal data to TechCrunch or to IAB to serve me better ads, there's no protocol for me to do that. And so we had the open discussion of like maybe there's some way to do a data API for the individual or some sort of ad choices type program that actually gives that kind of control back to the user.
And if consumers want to have a good relationship with ads, they will tell you that there are ads that they do want to see. So if we could introduce transparency in some way through this dashboard, which allowed you to view your journey, then we're likely to have an open permission which allow us to target people in more relevant ways, which would increase ROI and give us that scale we're looking for.
Yeah.
But,
well, it was a great session.
Yeah,
glad to get everybody
awesome.
involved, and I think that there were some interesting things that came out of it.
Yeah, we definitely moved beyond car phones.